On the final day of President Tsai's state visit to the landlocked African nation of Eswatini, and just as with everywhere she's gone the last 3 days, she gets an enthusiastic welcome. But there's one topic that's been strictly off limits: any discussion of the local politics. Eswatini's an absolute monarchy, the last of its kind in Africa. King Mswati has been in power for almost 40 years, and he directly appoints the head of the country's government. Political parties were banned in 1973, and while there are elections to the lower house of parliament, the king appoints many of its members. That's to say, in Eswatini, what the king says goes.
The king has got all the powers that you can think of in any normal state. So that would be executive powers, that would be judicial powers, as well as legislative powers. On top of that, the king is actually above the law.
In 2021, Eswatini saw widespread pro-democracy protests calling for a reduction in the king's power and to give parliament more say. The government responded by cracking down on demonstrators, with dozens killed in the unrest. It succeeded in getting people off the streets, but has done little to alter their desire for change.
And what we want specifically is that there must be a constitutional changes in Swaziland, a new constitutional dispensation, in terms of which there will be multi-party democracy. We also do not understand why our message should not resonate with the people of Taiwan, because as we know it, Taiwan is a democracy. And I don't think that Taiwan should be assisting a despot to suppress human rights.
All of which leaves Taiwan in a difficult position. President Tsai has made Taiwan's commitment to freedom and democracy a central part of her bid to build her country's international profile and appeal to Western democracies. But none of those countries recognize Taipei.
This is the dilemma, the Maoduan, shall we say, of Taiwan's foreign policy efforts. The countries that it still has formal bilateral relations with tend to be small, in many cases not well run, in some cases autocratic. And that is in direct tension with the push to develop more robust relationships with the liberal democracies of the world.
Taiwan is isolated diplomatically because China claims sovereignty over the country. And that leaves Taipei faced with difficult choices. To keep its few remaining official allies, 13 in total, it needs to show there are benefits to not switching ties over to Beijing. And that might include turning a blind eye to the poor human rights record in countries such as Eswatini. But that contrast with Taiwan's stated commitment to liberal, democratic values is starker than ever, leaving Tsai, seen as a global champion of democracy, faced with questions she'd prefer not to answer. James Lin, John Su, and Ed Moon for TaiwanPlus.